The Cambodian Genocide, the dark reign of the Khmer Rouge. The 20th century bore witness to some of humanity's darkest moments, marked by unimaginable atrocities. Between 1975 and 1979, Cambodia became a living nightmare under the Khmer Rouge regime, led by Pol Pot. This script takes you on a journey through the unfolding of this tragedy, offering a somber reflection on one of the most horrifying chapters in modern history. Before the Khmer Rouge's ascension, Cambodia was a nation struggling to find its footing amidst a backdrop of colonial legacies and geopolitical tensions. For centuries, Cambodia had been a monarchy. The French colonized the nation in the mid-19th century, integrating it into French Indochina. Cambodia finally secured its independence in 1953, under King Norodom Sihanouk. However, the peace was short-lived. The 1960s saw growing instability as Cambodia became entangled in the chaos of the Vietnam War. The neighboring conflict spilled across Cambodia's borders, sowing discontent and radicalizing its population. In 1970, a coup supported by the United States overthrew Sihanouk, replacing him with the pro-American government of General Lon Nol. The Cambodian Civil War raged from 1970 to 1975, with the Khmer Rouge gaining ground. By 1975, the Communists seized Phnom Penh, the capital, marking the start of their regime. To understand the devastation that followed, it is crucial to comprehend the Khmer Rouge's rise, rooted in widespread disillusionment and the global Cold War climate. The Khmer Rouge was driven by a radical vision, a desire to create an agrarian utopia wiped clean of societal structures they deemed corrupt. Led by Pol Pot, the regime adhered to an extreme Marxist-Leninist ideology. Pol Pot despised urbanization, capitalism, and intellectualism, seeing them as corrupting influences. This ideology, while radical, resonated with many impoverished Cambodians tired of years of war, corruption, and inequality for the moment. By the time the Khmer Rouge entered Phnom Penh in April 1975, they had swayed the masses with promises of liberation. Instead, their rule marked the beginning of unspeakable terror. On April 17, 1975, Khmer Rouge forces marched triumphantly into Phnom Penh. For many residents, this moment was tinged with relief. The civil war was finally over, or so they thought. Within hours, Khmer Rouge soldiers ordered the mass evacuation of all urban centers. Families carrying whatever they could fled onto the roads, redirected at gunpoint into Cambodia's countryside. This forcible relocation marked the beginning of Year Zero, a symbolic reset of Cambodian society. Cities were emptied, banks were destroyed, and records were burned, erasing the traces of the old world. For the Khmer Rouge, the ideal new society required dismantling all pre-existing structures, social, economic, and cultural. The Khmer Rouge implemented sweeping changes overnight. Money, religion, education, and private property were abolished. The regime declared all citizens as equals, but their policies made a mockery of humanity. Urban dwellers, intellectuals, and anyone perceived as bourgeois were labeled enemies of the state. They were emptied out into re-education camps, where hunger, illness, and back-breaking labor claimed countless lives. Meanwhile, rural peasants were glorified as model citizens. The Khmer Rouge labeled this upheaval as progress, but for the people of Cambodia, it was a descent into despair. Daily life under the Khmer Rouge was marked by suffering, cruelty, and death. Cambodians were organized into cooperatives and forced to work in rice fields for hours on end, often with tools as rudimentary as their bare hands. The regime's agricultural policies were disastrous. Unrealistic production goals and poor planning led to mass starvation. Surveillance was omnipresent as neighbors reported one another for the smallest perceived disobediences. The regime's motto captured its ruthless ethos: to keep you is no benefit, to destroy you is no loss. Under such conditions, fear and silence became survival mechanisms. While starvation and disease killed many, systematic executions became hallmarks of the Khmer Rouge's brutality. Dissidents, intellectuals, religious leaders, and ethnic minorities were rounded up, tortured, and executed en masse. These executions occurred in what came to be known as the killing fields. One of the most infamous sites was Choang Ek, where prisoners from the regime's notorious Tuol Sleng S21 prison were sent for execution. Tuol Sleng itself was a former high school converted into a prison and torture center. Of the 17,000 people who entered its gates, fewer than 20 survived. At killing fields like Choang Ek, prisoners would be executed in ways designed to save ammunition, bludgeoned, stabbed, or even buried alive. Victims' hands were often tied, their faces blindfolded, their bodies discarded in mass graves. For Cambodians, these fields became burial sites of horror, where the sheer scale of death defies comprehension. For those who managed to survive, the scars were not only physical but deeply psychological. Many survivors recount the primal hunger, the relentless exhaustion, the loss of loved ones, and the ever-present fear. Families were torn apart, communities destroyed, human dignity stripped away. Some escaped by sheer luck, others by moments of strategic deception or the ability to adapt to the regime's harsh demands. Yet their survival was often bittersweet, haunted by memories of those who did not return. The extreme nature of Khmer Rouge policies eventually led to their downfall. In December 1978, Vietnam, alarmed by border tensions and refugee crises, launched an invasion of Cambodia. By January 1979, the Vietnamese army successfully overthrew the Khmer Rouge, liberating Phnom Penh and scattering the regime's leadership into the jungle. However, the damage left in the Khmer Rouge's wake was near calamitous. Cambodia's recovery was slow and painful. The Khmer Rouge's 4-year rule had left the nation in ruins, its infrastructure destroyed, its population decimated, and its people traumatized. Orphaned children, countless widows, and displaced survivors became the face of a nation struggling to heal. Rebuilding was stalled by political instability and the Cold War, during which Pol Pot's followers continued to wage guerrilla warfare from Cambodia's jungles. It wasn't until decades later that the country truly began to regain stability. The shadow of the Khmer Rouge looms large in Cambodia's collective memory. The genocide left profound scars, shaping the nation's culture and identity. Efforts to seek justice came too late for many. Today, sites like the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum and Choang Ek Memorial serve as stark reminders of this dark chapter. Survivors and historians continue to work toward preserving the memory of the genocide, ensuring its lessons are not forgotten. The Cambodian Genocide offers a grim testament to how ideology can spiral into atrocity when left unchecked. It serves as a reminder of the fragility of human rights and how desperation, propaganda, and radicalism can lead nations astray. This tragedy underscores the responsibility of the international community to intervene in the face of genocidal threats. Cambodia's suffering was met with a delayed global response, a failure that casts a shadow on humanity's capacity to stand against such evil. As viewers, reflecting on this moment in history compels us to look forward, to remain vigilant against hatred, oppression, and the consequences of forgetting the past. The Cambodian Genocide was a catastrophe of unimaginable scale, a period in which the Khmer Rouge sought to reshape a nation, but instead destroyed millions of lives. The resilience of survivors, coupled with the determination of academics and historians, ensures this story continues to be told. By remembering the Cambodian Genocide, we honor the victims and reinforce the importance of seeking justice, protecting human rights, and safeguarding against ideologies that dehumanize. Let this dark chapter in history be a cautionary reminder. Never again.